So first, I want to thank everybody and welcome everybody for joining in. And sorry, we're having some technical issues. We're working on them and trying to get them up and going. And so hopefully we'll get that taken care of as soon as we can. But this is a great opportunity. The history and the issues of language for our people are long standing issue, and so the opportunity for us to have an initial project that begins an opportunity for youth and young adults to do exploration in language is a great opportunity. And so this is a wonderful opportunity that's coming to us through the Administration for Native Americans to begin work in looking at both the Houma French language that our elders speak and continue to practice today, as well as the traditional Houma language that has been dormant within our tribe, that there's an interest and a resurgence to bring back. And then how do we archive and document that? And so the three components of that, I think, are a wonderful piece of that. And so Brandon Keller on our staff is taking the lead, and then Haley Dordar, member of the tribe, but also part of the Houma Language Project, has been working to get this project going. And so I'll let you guys say a little bit more on how the project is structured, and how we'll be working with youth to get this going. And then we'll work behind the scenes to get things moving.
Sure, and I can go ahead and start. My name is Brandon Keller. I work with United Houma Nation as a grant and research project manager. I wrote this grant along with Haley as part of the Administration for Native Americans American Rescue Plan Act Emergency Native Language Funding program that they put out last year. The idea of this is to be an 18-month program that will allow students and youth of the tribe to reconnect with languages in various forms, not just the currently being reconstructed Houma language, but also Houma French, which is one that is more familiar to members of the tribe, but also is in danger of being lost. As well as giving them an opportunity to see what archiving and preserving these languages really entails. And it's an opportunity for the elders of the tribe, as well as just the native speakers of these languages, to connect with younger generations, because that has been something that has been increasingly difficult over the years. And I'm really excited to work with Haley and the rest of Houma Language Project on this. They've been absolutely instrumental to not only putting the grant together, but also organizing and working out a lot of the details with me in terms of how this grant is going to look. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Haley to introduce their part.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Haley Dardar. I'm a member of the Houma Language Project, along with Brittany Verdin Jimenez, who's also on this call. We're really happy to partner with the United Houma Nation to do this. This is kind of what the people who are putting this grant are forming this together, and the people on this call, we're loosely calling the Youth Language Committee. The Language Committee is made up of UHN staff, so Brandon and Lenore, HLP staff, Brittany and I. UHN council members, you'll see Dixie Bro and Donnie Verdin also representing the council on this call. We also have French elders represented within this council. Currently, those members are Corrine Polk and Janie Luster. If you have any other elders that you know may want to get involved, we're actively seeking more elders to be a member of this council. So do let us know about that. And then also ANA, kind of the silent partner on this. They're the people who put the grant program together and allowed this to happen. Brandon, do you want to talk a little bit about why we're able to do this, and what's ANA and how they give us money for this?
Sure. A quick background on the funding. ANA is kind of a an umbrella agency that covers a lot of different things within the federal government's interactions with Native American tribes in the US. And specifically, this funding came from the American Rescue Plan Act that came out, I want to say almost 2 years ago now. And the funding was actually set aside specifically for the preservation and promotion of Indigenous languages in the US. This program was created because there was or rather in direct response to a concern about the COVID pandemic, as well as a number of other things leading to the loss of elders and communities that had pretty much the sole repository of knowledge of a lot of these Indigenous languages across the US. And as a result, they wanted to promote if not archiving and preservation of the languages, then the education and spread of these languages in the communities. So this was a grant that we had applied for just about a year ago, I think, and were informed that we had been awarded what we had asked for in terms of funding just a few months ago, and we've been working in the background. Myself, Lenore, Haley, Brittany, and the members of the council have been working together in the background, just getting the framework of this put up. And we're here today to answer any questions that the public might have, to discuss some of the details of the program, and to just kind of make the public aware of what we're doing.
Ask and you shall receive. I'm really glad.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, let's see. This is a little bit. So what are the kind of the goals of the internship? So if you're interested in this, so the ANA grant covered two things. They covered the development of a language council, which is this group that's putting this project together. And it also covered the development of internships, which we're really excited to launch. And we really hope that we can find members of the community we're youth that are really interested in getting involved in this. The goals on the internship, there's 5 kind of learning goals that we'd like to present an option for. These are the things where we want the intern to come out knowing at least a little bit more about these, no matter where they started. The first is understanding the value of language and cultural revitalization, just getting a sense of the scope of that and getting a sense of why language is important to communities for social well-being and also economic well-being. Learn how to develop relationships for intergenerational cultural knowledge transfer. We specifically want to pair students with a cohort outside of their age group, so generally elders or mentors. This type of communication style, we hope, we think that's going to lead to great intergenerational cultural knowledge transfer, or just like communication pretty much, but it's also a transferable skill that students can use in other aspects of their lives. This is something that they'll need if they're ever going to get a mentor, if they go to college and they need like a thesis director. Getting a sense and getting some comfort and some ability to just talk with and feeling comfortable conversing with people who may not be your family, but also people outside of your age group. Something that we're trying to get through this. The third thing is gaining technical skill in language documentation, digitization, video conferencing, and archive. Some of these things are pretty, like language documentation is extremely specific. And if you guys are really interested in linguistics, that's a great leg up. Probably may not help you in other jobs. But things like digitization, video conferencing, and understanding how to organize metadata and digital data that comes with archiving are some skills that that you're going to learn through this internship, but are also things that you're going to use in anything else that you do within your life. Again, this is kind of a repeat of the other one, but gaining soft skills and interpersonal communication, following instructions, language acquisition, and intergenerational team dynamics. Just spending some time, in these cohort groups. We're hoping to have a group of students and a group of mentors kind of working together, and just having just that kind of interpersonal communication happening. There's something that comes with deep listening that you can only do while you're trying to learn a language. That type of deep listening is necessary to get language skills, but it's also extremely helpful in anything else that you're going to do. So that's another skill that students, we expect students to come out of this with. And lastly, to be able to communicate the state of a language within a specific domain in a written report. So this is just their ability to communicate what's happening with Houma and being able to speak in a 2-page written paper, what's up with Houma in the place that they're from, and what are their, most importantly, I think, what are their opinions about language and language revitalization. Just basic, just generally having opinion about this, and we're really interested and excited to hear what students' opinions may be. Eligibility, Brandon, do you want to kind of go through who can do this? Sure. And why?
Sure. So we're looking for anyone between the ages of 14 and 25. You don't have to actually be an active student to apply for this program. We do encourage it, though. The idea is to kind of have students engage with other students after the fact and try and get a self-sustaining program built out of this eventually. But it could be high school or college age kids. That's kind of what we're looking for. Youth of the United Houma Nation, of course, are eligible. You don't need to be directly enrolled. We just need to know what your connection to the tribe is. So specifically, to kind of clarify that, you don't need to have your tribal number or a card, but if you have a grandmother or parent or uncle or aunt or whatever that does, we just need to kind of know what that connection is so that we can make sure that you're on our rolls and that everything is all set there. The interns are expected to dedicate anywhere between 2 and 20 hours per week for 3 months to this project, and that'll be for things like interviewing native speakers, participating in Houma language classes, working with the tribe's archivists to learn the language archiving process, as well as doing sort of monthly calls, which is this next point, to check in with everyone else who's doing the internships from all the various tracks to discuss what you're doing, as well as share any experiences, ask any questions, that sort of thing. At the end, we will be asking for a 4-page final report on the language domains. So that's Houma, Houma French, or archiving, and we'll be laying out the rules for that for the interns as they join our program. And you'll also be expected to keep in contact with our education coordinator who works with the tribe to just make sure that the various aspects of this project go through. I think that's it for eligibility.
Yeah, the one thing I thought about that was when I'm reading it, it sounds like the 4-page paper, like it seems like, oh gosh, I can't do this. I don't feel like I can write a 4-page paper about this right now. That's okay. We're trying to design this to be as accessible as possible for people. You may not be able to write a final report on that right now, but that's why it's a final report. That's something that the language education coordinator and us as the language committee is going to help you kind of form that and shape that through the mentorship. So don't get freaked out about that. It's not something that's going to be hopped on you in the last minute. Think of it as something that, it's more of a scrapbook of something that you're going to be kind of working on the whole time, rather than an additional paper you'll have to do at the end of the project.
Right, and I think that's something we should really stress here, is that for anyone who does want to apply for one of these internships, you'll have the full support, not just of myself and Lenore at the tribe, but Haley, Brittany, all of the elders that will be contributing to this, all the tribal council members that will be contributing to this, as well as the education coordinator with the tribe. We're all going to be here as a resource to help these interns, if they have any issues with the learning process, if they have any questions, they want help with these final reports, we'll be here the entire run to provide this assistance. So this isn't, there's not a strong expectation that you're 100% independent on this. We are here to help as well.
And while we're going through this, if any questions come up, feel free to feel free to pop them over. We're going to just continue through the slides and then have like a larger Q&A at the end. But if there's any questions that are coming up in the chat or something, feel free to pop them in if they're relevant at the time. So within this internship, interns have a choice between 3 tracks. So they're going to spend 3 months with a mentor learning just language skills within the internship. They can choose one of these 3 tracks to spend that time in. It is completely up to the student which one they want to do. It honestly does not matter to us which one you guys want to pick, but we need to get a good sense, you know, on the application. I think you can checkbox any of them if you want. But we're not, it's very important to know that we're not assigning these. You have to choose which ones you're interested in and pick them. In the application, I think they have room for you to pick 1 or 2, or all 3, and we can just place where you want, but we really want to see where people want to go, and place you where you want to go. So maybe think about this a little bit while you're filling out your application. The 3 places that you can go are Houma French, Houma, or Archives. In the Houma French, you can expect we're going to pair you with a Houma mentor. If you have someone in your family that speaks Houma French, we would love to pair you with that Houma mentor. Please put them down as the person you want to work with. That's absolutely what we want to happen. If you don't have anyone in your family that speaks French, and you don't know anyone who around speaks French, that's okay too. Just put that down, and our committee will work with the Houma elders on the committee to find people in your area to work it together. This option is digital or physical. It's really up to you and the elder where you want to go. It's really just a one-on-one conversation. We're going to give you a basic rubric that you guys can follow, but it's up to you guys to like kind of learn together. We'll give you, there's a few different curricula that's possible to use to kind of, you know, go through these language, just general language learning just from conversations. You have the Master Apprentice Program, or you have OLA. Either one of those, we're gonna pair you with a book, a mentor, and you guys are just going to work together, check in on the meetings, and we'll just make sure that you guys are doing okay, and make sure that things are going well with that. And answer any questions or kind of change stuff if you need. The other track is Houma. So this is the online, this is online only, but this is working with the Houma Language Project. Members of the Houma Language Project would be mentors. It would probably be Brittany Verdan Jimenez. So it would be gathering and joining our conversation once a week, learning how we're developing language, what we're doing with it, and just learning basic phrases and getting a sense, you know, we'll get a sense of what you guys are interested in, and we'll let you kind of take it from there after we teach you the basics of stuff, and we can kind of work together on what you guys want to do with that. So that's a fully digital option. There's no, we live all over, so there's no physical Houma Language Project place. So you can do this if you're in Wyoming, you can do this if you're in Kansas, it really doesn't matter. The third option is Archives. So that's attending once a week, working with the United Houma Nation. This would be in person at the United Houma Nation office. This would be working with the archivist to digitize materials related to languages, or just generally materials within the archive. You would be learning about metadata, you would be learning about tracking and digitizing of records, you'd be learning about trying to search other records to get things together. But you would be working very closely with tribal administration, and you would be going into the office every day, getting a sense of, once a week, but getting a sense of how things are working within the office, and getting a better sense of how the tribe is functioning. So those are the 3 tracks, Houma French, Houma, or Archives. And again, students can pick between these 3, and just go from there. Brandon, you want to talk a little bit about payment?
Sure. So this is a paid internship, which is kind of unusual for internships for high school students into college age. But this is a $500 internship. Payment will be made at the end of the internship. So at the end of that 3 months after you've submitted your report, we will be paying you $500. Mentors will also be paid the same $500, and these mentors So like, for example, for the Houma French, any of the elders in the community or one of your family members, if they speak Houma French, that sign up as one of your mentors, they would just have to talk to us. So we get them approved and signed up. And once they are, they would also be eligible to be paid $500 as well. Mentors, we get paid at the beginning of the role rather than at the end. Reason for this is that we recognize that a lot of things can come up for students throughout the school year and a lot of other things. So we want to have the payment for students towards the end so that we can make sure that they are able to, commit to the whole track, as well as, any requirements that we might set out. And if something does come up, we don't want to have them worry about having to pay any of the money back for that internship. As for mentors, we recognize that there's a really strong need out in the community right now, especially for elders, especially after the hurricane and everything else has happened, for some sort of assistance or extra job or money coming in. So we want to make sure that that money is available to the mentors out in our community for their services as soon as possible.
Application. I think this is kind of our last slide. The deadline for the application is February 4th, so it's coming up. I think it's next week. We're hoping to send out, it's pretty close, but we want to get this project started in the beginning of March. And so that'll give us some time to go through applications and get things going with this. We want to send out notifications for everything by February 15th. And we want to launch, the kickoff meeting with all of the interns together by March 8th. The internship itself will go through from March 8th to June 4th. I realize that kind of straddles the school year, and I'm thinking about, if you're a college age student or a high school student that somehow is working to get college or high school credit for this, do talk to our education coordinator or do talk to us. We can work with you to make sure that you can get everything in on time so that this complies with your school's, whatever school you're in, education requirements, so you can get credit for what you're doing here. But the final wrap is going to be June 4th. Even if you do get college credit or high school credit and you're kind of ending it early, we do expect you to continue till June 4th to get the payment. The application is here. I can copy this and put it in the chat. It's a Google form. Oh no, we went too far. Okay, it's a Google form. It's fairly simple to fill out. I think you should probably put maybe 30 to 45 minutes to fill it out, just because there's a few questions that are open-ended. You can go through. We'll also pop into the chat a link. We have a full PDF of all the questions that are going to come up on the Google form, so you can kind of plan ahead of time. If you want to print it out and then kind of answer everything on paper, and then, once you have all of your information together, go online, you can do it that way too, or you could just kind of go for it and wing in a prayer. Yep. And does anybody else have anything on applications?
No, I think that about covers it. The applications will be reviewed by the full language committee. So that's not just UHN and the Houma Language Project. That includes elders of the tribe as well as the members of the tribal council. So we're trying to make this as community focused and as broad a process as possible.
And that's it.
Yeah, so we weren't able to, and unfortunately, get it on the tribe's Facebook account to get live, but we will do our best to get this recording up so folks can at least get this going. I think just a couple questions. I think, Haley, when you were going through it, if I were a student thinking through, I think a couple questions. So, I think you hinted at a couple of things, but I think, if we can answer that a little more clearer, is residency. Students do not need to live in the service area. They can live anywhere as long as they're a tribal citizen or of descendancy, correct?
Correct.
One thing that and you just need to mark that on your sheet and think about that when you're choosing a track. You can live in Cambodia and do this internship. But if you're going to be doing, if you're going to be doing the archiving track, you're going to have to work with the United Houma Nation. You're going to have to be on site. So keep that in mind. If you're interested in archiving, that's something that has to be kind of in person to do. So it's just a matter of how far can you get a ride there, or how far can you drive? The other two tracks, they do have digital and physical options, so you can kind of do them anywhere. But do think about that when you're thinking about an elder, and we're going to try to match you with an elder that has some digital skills that can work too. But yes, absolutely. This isn't within a certain district. This is outside of that. So you don't have to be, you have to be connected to the United Houma Nation as a tribe, but you don't necessarily need to be in Louisiana. You don't need to be living in the United States at the time. You can really do this from anywhere.
And I think it's just such a great opportunity, particularly for young people that may want to connect with their grandparents, capture stories, and being able to do that in the Houma French language at the same time. It satisfies so many different opportunities. It also helps the tribe capture those stories. It's a learning opportunity and an opportunity for that cross-generational learning experience. And hey, at the same time, both you and your grandparent can earn some money. I mean, it's a nice win-win. It's a great opportunity.
And
So Brittany just posted, if you guys can explain uh who and how to get in touch with the education coordinator for explanation of college credit for high schoolers, and is that a possibility?
sure, well, I can hop in for this one. So we don't have an education coordinator selected just yet. We're still in the process of finalizing that. However, if you have any questions right now about any sort of college or educational credits that your school may offer, you can reach out to myself. My email address is Brandon, Brandon, dot Keller, Keller, at unitedhomanation.org. And I can answer any questions that you might have up until we get that education coordinator position filled, and then they can kind of take it from there. Long story short, a lot of universities, especially some high schools do this as well, will have credit options available for external courses or internships such as this. It could be, a matter of, 1 or 2 hours worth of credits. It could be a number of things. But whatever those requirements are, we just ask that you would share them with us as soon as possible, preferably as soon as you're selected. That way we can organize with your school and make sure that all of the requirements on our end and yours are fulfilled in terms of like reporting or paperwork or signatures or whatever we need to provide. That way you're not missing out. This is kind of a broad subject to be talking about this early in things, and it'll be kind of on a case-by-case basis. A lot of schools have very different requirements for these. So as soon as you're selected, just make sure that that is shared with the education coordinator, who will be one of the first people that you're talking to anyway in the selection process. And we'll make sure that those requirements are met on your end and ours if you go through the whole internship process.
And I know when I was trying to get an internship, the way that I got those requirements to send, what I did was I took the application. So you can take the intern description that we've posted online and bring that to your school's counselor. So whether that's a high school counselor or a college counselor, and ask them, this is an internship, I'd like to receive credits for this. What information do they need to do, or what requirements need to be fulfilled for this? And they should either send back an email or let you know, what those requirements are. And that's the stuff that you would forward to us, or you would forward to Brandon, and then Brandon and the education coordinator can work with your school to make sure that those things are lining up for you.
And one thing I do want to clarify from a previous slide, we were talking about the 3 different tracks, and I'm sure there might be some questions as to what the Houma French internship track might entail in terms of like what that might look like. So what we are envisioning here is a more naturalistic way of learning a language. When you learn a language in your household, you don't learn it with worksheets, you don't learn it with a textbook. You learn it by talking to someone and learning the language through conversation and just interacting with them. So the idea for especially the Houma French tract is that this elder that you're paired with will be telling you stories, will just be interacting with you through Houma French. They will be teaching you a language in a more naturalistic and traditional way. And preferably a lot of these will be, recorded or transcribed by the interns so that we can have things to archive and keep records of for later. But the Houma French one is kind of the only one that does this. The Houma tract is very similar, but but it would also focus on things like language reconstruction and creation of materials that way. But the Houma French one is much more naturalistic in its expectations. Sorry, go ahead.
To touch on that, and also what Lenore was saying earlier about this being such a good opportunity for people, one of the things that's foundational to language learning is having a language relationship with one another. So just as we say that there's not going to be as much we're not going to give you worksheets, and there's not going to be a language, there's not going to be a test on your ability to speak French at the end of this. We also want to make sure that you and your mentor are going to be relaxed on this. There's not going to be like a French spelling bee at the end of this where all of the mentors and the interns are going to get together and have to show their skills together. What we're really focusing on is just getting those stories out and having those conversations and just having fun with it and really having some joy within the language. Learning a few phrases, learning a few quips, getting to a sense where you feel confident asking, how do you say this in French? And you're able to understand kind of how to say it after they say it and why it kind of works that way. We're not expecting everyone to come out of this able to, throw down at a Pedro table in French. What we are expecting is for people to have, just a little bit more comfort in learning language and having a grasp of, if I wanted to continue this, I know I have some curricula or I have something I can ground myself on and I can go further with this if me and my mentor wanted to.
Yeah, hopefully spark some interest for the future. And I do see that we do have a question in the chat. For students with internet connectivity issues or no access to a microphone or speech issues, is texting an adequate option for check-ins and learning with mentors for the second track? Haley, I'll let you cover this because second track is the Houma.
The second track is Houma. Okay, so internet connectivity issues, no access to microphone speak issues. Is texting an adequate option for check-ins? I'm not sure. I think, generally we're trying to get as many people involved in this as possible. I can't think of right now that we're currently set up with this, but I mean, the Houma Language Project started a few years back on a hope and a dream anyway. So if this is something if there's a student with this that wants to be involved, we'll figure out a way to make it work. And it'll be a learning curve on our side, but it's a learning curve that is probably necessary if we're going to go forward with this project. So we'll definitely need some help with it, but and we're not necessarily ready for that now, but we can definitely make that work.
My only question, and I guess that leads into is there also are check-ins that are required. And so how would they be able to participate in the check-ins?
Well, the check-ins would function much like the Zoom meeting that we're using now, either through Zoom or something like Google Meets. And the nice thing about both of those is they have call-in options just in case the internet is not fully available. So for those monthly meetings, the participants would still be able to dial in if they don't have access to a computer or Zoom or Google Meets or what have you. So they'd still be able to participate in terms of like a voice conversation with the rest of the group. It would be limited because, obviously you don't have the full access to the features of either program if you're calling into them, but we wanted to make sure that they would still have that option just in case they are in a place with limited internet access for those check-ins.
Thank you.
Rachel, do you have any suggestions on how we can make this more accessible?
And you can unmute, Rachel.
Hi. So I do have a student who lives in the countryside and she can go down to like a library, but for the most part she would have issue with like microphone access, I think. So I guess like, but could you still like look at videos?
Yeah, I can. I wouldn't be able to like actually speak to them in a library.
All right.
That's the only problem.
So because she'd be in a library, she wouldn't be able to open her microphone and talk back to y'all, essentially. But she is interested in the track. So I guess like at the library she'd have internet, but the issue would be speaking back to you. It'd be like how we did during this, where I was writing mostly to y'all.
Mm-hmm. 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 I think we can make it. I mean, I think we can figure something out that will work. I don't know, I'm just trying to think. I can't really brainstorm right now on stuff, but it seems like if you're able and you're interested, I think we can figure out a way to make it work.
And that might be something we could actually reach out to that library for their assistance to see if we could work out something as well.
Yeah.
If we know in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I wanted to add to that the Google Sheets and documents that we use are collaborative, meaning that more than one person at a time can get on there and type stuff up. And I've done it before when I had really bad internet connection. I've had to like type in what I wanted to say in the document and then delete and whatever. But now Google has added a chat section that we can talk to each other instead of just leaving comments and like emailing back and forth. We can actually chat in real time. So that might be an option to do whenever you have to go to the library and you can't talk, and then just like, I guess, write down some of the things you want to go over, and then later on, either the next day or later on in the day, however you and your mentor get it settled, you can speak on the phone about it, call in that way and things like that, because speaking the language is important. So we'd have to figure out a way to do that. But yeah, as far as connecting with each other, Google is really good for that.
And we do want to make sure we have these options ready. So I'm glad that you're asking these questions, because this will also apply to people with physical limitations, not just technological ones. So if someone is unable to speak or has hearing issues, we want to make sure that they're accommodated as well.
There is we have some kids in our school, Brandon, that are unable to speak, and there is a way that we do Google Classroom with them using the chat. So that is an option with the as long as you have a Gmail, it's doable. I know, like we have 2 of them for sure at our site.
Great, yeah. So I will definitely be reaching out to Dixie to make sure that
I can reach out to Al, who's our tech guy, and see exactly what he has set up on their computer. I know it's a certain program that talk to speech to text, and all that. See what he has, and I can let you know.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dixie. Does anyone else that is on, which I know is a limited number of people, have any questions?
Brittany, were you able to check? I wonder if there's any Facebook questions or questions from Facebook. I'm not sure.
No, I've been going back and forth into the discussion, but I hadn't seen any.
Okay. In that case, we will be posting this video online on the Facebook page for Houma Language Project, United Houma Nation, as well as the Twitter, if I can get it to fit on there. So any questions that do come up, if you're listening to this after the call, we do apologize for the technical issues. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments or reply directly, and we will get back to you with answers as soon as we can. If you have any questions and you want to email them, Again, my email address is Brandon, BRANDON.Keller, KELLER, at unitedhomanation.org. You can reach out to me directly, and I can answer or forward your question on to anyone who needs to be involved.
Thank you, Brandon. And then just in closing, for anyone that is thinking about this and they're going, should I not? I would urge anyone, if this is of interest to you, you have an interest and a love of languages and a young person that you're contemplating this. If you're on the fence and going, well, should I or should I not? I would lean towards the yes, you should. And and being able to say, first of all, I think we're excited to be able to work with everyone who applies. We'll actually be moving forward. We'll be selecting 10, correct?
Correct.
Yep, 10 individuals, 10 young people to be our first cohort. And so, it's a great opportunity. And so I think we want to be able to accommodate folks and be able to help this succeed and grow from here. And so I think we encourage the more applications, the better.
Okay, and as a final note, and just as a goodbye, I want to also thank Dixie Bro and Donnie Verdun, members of the United Houma Nation Council, for joining us on this call, as well as participating in the language committee. And thank you everyone for your time and for listening to this, if you're listening to it after it was recorded. And we hope to hear from you or see your applications in soon.